Hi, it's me, Zigiswa, aka Tulip, and I actually just had a very interesting conversation this morning with uh, someone I know. And so, what their question was, how do you determine how to get somebody a present, and a present that's appropriate in terms of where the relationship is with that person at the moment, and is not going to be seen as sort of going beyond where or beyond the level of relationship that you would be sort of enjoying with the person. I thought that was a very interesting sort of question because I think that gifts for me aren't really dependent on how long you've known each other or whatever level you think the relationship is at. I think they are primarily based, or I think they should be, at least that's how this is the sort of the rationale that I apply when I buy people gifts. It is a reflection of what you think of the person, what sort of impact they're having in your life, but also what they've inspired within you, right? So, if, for example, you meet somebody and you don't even necessarily know them for that long, but you sort of, walking on a mall or wherever it is, somewhere, and you see something that reminds them of you, and you feel like it's something that that reminds you of them, and you think it's something that they would appreciate as well. For example, if you meet somebody who's a photographer and you find like a really rare piece of photography by like a really great photographer, and you know that this is something that this person would like, and obviously you have a relationship with the person, and you think, oh well, this would be cool, they'd appreciate that. I don't see anything wrong with buying or getting them that particular present, because it obviously stirred something in you, and it's something that they would appreciate, right? So however much it costs, or whether or not you feel like you're at a point where you should be exchanging gifts, or it's something that you should be doing, I don't think that really plays too much of a role in whether or not to get them the gift. It is also about your comfortability level, and I guess what you know of the person. So, for example, if you know that they are the kind of person who appreciates just the fact that you thought of them, and wouldn't take it as an overstepping of the mark or of the boundaries, because now, well, we're not really that close of friends, but they would appreciate the sentiment behind, oh, I saw this, it made me think of you. I think you can go ahead and get that present. Also, there's things then in terms of like how much the gift would cost, and if buying somebody an expensive gift necessarily means that there's a relationship sort of threshold that you're now crossing, and now the value of the relationship is then reflective in the expense of the gift. I'm not really much for expensive things or attaching too much significance to things based on how much they cost. It can be a gift that costs nothing, and I would definitely appreciate it, and I think a lot of people would, but some people do appreciate sort of material attachments or material value, attachments to certain things, and they may think that it signifies something more if somebody buys you something expensive, or it signifies that your relationship isn't as great if somebody buys you something that's inexpensive or doesn't cost anything. So I think it's a tricky but interesting sort of plane to navigate, and I always go for whatever you feel is right, whatever you feel resonates, but also whatever you know will resonate with the next person, right? So it shouldn't be about you thinking that it's that great. It's about you knowing that it may not be, you may not think it's so great, but the next person would really value it. And that is really based on understanding the relationships that you have, and knowing that, oh, okay, cool, Zukiswa isn't really a materialistic kind of person. She doesn't really care about how much a gift costs. It's about how much thought and effort I put into getting her the gift, and about recognizing the fact that when I saw this, I thought of her, and so she would appreciate it. Or Mary over here really loves expensive designer, things, and I saw this designer bag that costs $1 million, and I know that's the kind of stuff that she loves, and so that's what I'll get her. I don't think there's a right or a wrong, but I do think you'll know when you find something that you think will resonate to the person that you're giving it to. Like, if they appreciate it, and you'll know if it's something that they would use. But sometimes we get it wrong. I mean, recently I know someone who bought their significant other a gift for their birthday. And so this gift was like, they showed it to me. I was like, this is great. I'm sure they'll love it. And, and so when it was time for the gift giving, the significant other was like, oh, well, it's nice, but I just don't know how practical it is. And so, right there in that moment, there's just so many things that are happening, right? Because the gift giver is now thinking, oh my gosh, but I went through so much effort. I saw this, I thought you'd like it, and it's a gift. It's not necessarily meant to be a practical thing. I mean, I think most gifts aren't practical things. They're just a nice thing to have. It's just the one time when you can sort of own an item or have an item that is not for practical use, but it's so beautiful, or you appreciate it so much, it brings you so much joy that it's just it's like decadence, your chance to sort of be extravagant and spoil yourself. But the receiver of the gift was like, they don't think in that way. They think more about, if you're gonna give me something, it needs to be something that I can use on a day-to-day basis. Like, it has to have a practical value to it. It can't just be an over-the-top, really nice, extravagant thing, but doesn't really improve my quality of life in terms of how I can use it for doing certain things. And so I thought that was such an interesting thing, because that's also based on backgrounds, right? So I think maybe if your background has always been about, you've never had room to be able to either buy yourself or be bought gifts that are just to make you feel good, just to enjoy, just to see, just to, there doesn't have to be a reason for having them. Versus a person who has grown up with sort of plentiful enough practicality in their lives, in terms of having the basics. You have the basics. It's not something that you really have to think too hard about. That gives you more room to be able to appreciate things outside of the practical. And I think that also sort of comes in terms of your upbringing, background, station in life, and proximity to privilege, where privilege is not having to worry about the basics, and not having privilege is having to worry about the basics. And so you never, even when you're not necessarily at a point where you're struggling, but your mindset is still such that everything that you have must have a use. There must be a practical use. There must be a logical reason why you have it. Versus somebody who can just have nice things for the sake of having nice things, right? So I think there's also those sorts of considerations that you need to make. So anyway, I just found that really funny. And I guess we have to be sensitive to each other, but also sort of, like I said, for me the most authentic way to give a gift is testing out in terms of how well you know the person, the sorts of things that you think that they'd appreciate, but also your reason for giving them the gift. And that doesn't have to be attached to a monetary value or even a practical value. For me, it's about the thought that, you've thought about that person, and I think they should appreciate that, or will appreciate that, just based on that. So yeah, that's my post for today. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it's been useful, and may you have practical and impractical gifts given to you.